figure one, and then if it's a success, they don't have to worry about wrapping into the second or the third one, you know what I'm saying? But if it's failure, they can be like, don't worry about it. And it's kind of a catch-all for them too. They don't have to adjust the rates like dramatically if the first one you keep their highest rate. It's pretty common deal.
They'll go up another 15% next
They didn't know how to read it. They didn't know it. Just slowly took off. He gave a huge call. So y'all want to make a couple others that are equal as well. It's unbelievable. It's aged pretty well. It's 5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Monday, May 24th. Carl, would you please start us off with a roll call?
Councilmember Remley. Ronayne.
Present.
Lunsman.
Present.
Rife.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Rux.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will start with the approval of this agenda. I guess we've got two minor modifications that Joe, City Manager Guy, will tell us about here.
Yes, two things. One, an addition under the consent calendar. There will be an item E for a lottery notice to receive and place on file. This is for the Safe Harbor Foundation raffle. And then also an amendment under E1, Park Board appointments. E1 is to fill an unexpired term rather than a 5-year term. So change that to unexpired to end June 30th, 2022.
Move to approve the agenda with those modifications.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, a second from Councilman Rux to approve this week's printed minutes with two modifications as outlined by City Manager Joe Gah. Any questions? And then we can, since we've got everyone here in person for once, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We'll move along to the approval of last week's minutes for the meeting of May 17th. Can I get a motion to approve last week's minutes, please?
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold, second from Councilman Lunsman over there, right? Sounds good. Any questions or additions anyone thinks that we should make to this thing? Otherwise, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. Those minutes are approved. We'll move on to open forum. We've got no one signed up to speak. All right, so we will move along to our consent calendar where we have 5 items, including the lottery notice that Joe mentioned a little bit earlier. Can I get a motion to approve these 5 consent calendar items?
Second.
Motion, Councilman Ronayne, second. Councilman Rife. Anyone on any of those? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That motion does carry. We will move along to our new business. The first order of new business will be the public hearing on the petition to rezone property described as Erdman First Subdivision to the City of Aberdeen in the southwest quarter of Section 13 at 302 South 4th Street. And here to tell us all about that is Brett Bill.
The petitioner is requesting the rezoning in order to remove a split zoning on the property. It was created when they replatted the property. Staff and Planning Commission recommend approval of this rezoning.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Rux and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Anyone have any questions for Planning and Zoning Director Brett Bill? All right, then Carl, would you give us a roll call vote on that public hearing petition, please? Is that necessary, Ron?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I thought it was. All right. Go ahead, Carl.
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Rife.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thank you very much. Next, we've got Ordinance 210502 regarding the issuance of local medical cannabis establishment permits and or licenses. This would be the possible first reading of that ordinance, and here to tell us about that continues to be Brett Bill.
I'm just going to read my overview from my staff report, if that's all right. The ordinance amendment is being recommended in order to provide a short-term stopgap ordinance that will provide for time for the city to analyze and evaluate the impacts of medical cannabis establishments and propose regulations regarding those establishments. The South Dakota Department of Health has yet to promulgate regulations governing medical cannabis, and the Planning and Zoning Department staff feel that it is inappropriate for the city to issue a local permit or license to medical cannabis establishment until the state of South Dakota has set some type of standard or regulation for those establishments. Staff feel that this ordinance is reasonable to preserve the status quo and prevent significant investment pending any studies or subsequent proposed regulations. This ordinance amendment was approved by the Planning Commission by a majority vote of 5-0. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Brett, I guess before we get into questions and so forth, shall we take a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion, Councilman Rux, and a second, Councilman Johnson. And I know that Councilman Ronayne had maybe a point of contention.
Well, I guess, yeah, maybe I'll raise this as a question to Brett. I'm just at a loss for why this has got a 2-year sunset provision on it. You know, the perception, there is a perception publicly that the state government is kind of slow walking getting this in place, that simply because they oppose it. I honestly don't think I want our city council to appear as though that's what we're doing. I don't know why it would take us 2 years if they're going to pass, if they're required to have regulations by what is it, September?
October 29th.
October, yeah.
It's a great question. I'll have our city attorney answer that for me.
Councilman Ronayne, the ordinance that this council is looking at was proffered originally by the South Dakota Municipal League and the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, and that was proffered as an emergency temporary ordinance. And they reference a statute under the city planning chapter regarding an emergency or temporary ordinance. And the only reason that sunset language is in there at 2 years is because that's what the statute allows, up to 2 years. Obviously, if the council wants to scale that back, they certainly can. But there was no intended effort to slow walk this from the administration.
And I'm not saying that. I just don't want to create that perception. And we could extend it as easily as we could repeal it earlier, if necessary.
So is there some sort of a reason why the October 29th was chosen? Or is that a random date in the calendar in the future?
That's the date that the South Dakota Department of Health has to have something in place.
That's actually in statute.
Statutory.
Sure. Okay. Councilman Rux?
So once Department of Health promulgates their rules, is it the intention then that an ordinance would be brought back to us?
I hope that well before that we have a chance to sit down in a work session with the council and maybe get directions, see how the council would like to look this. I've got ideas how I'd like to see things move forward, but I'd rather have those ironed out before we get an ordinance in place.
Okay.
There's numerous options we have and some things that we could do. The initiated measure 26 says that we have to have at least one dispensary located in town. We can have as many as we choose, but we have to have at least one. So, it's something we need to think about.
And of course, I think we can limit where those dispensaries are located, right?
Yes.
So they're not near a school or
Initiated
anything.
measure states the city can control the place, the means, and the number.
Councilwoman Langer has a question or a statement.
So Amendment A obviously is being challenged right now. We don't have the results of that. But if it stands, then as of July 1, is it? All things become not legal necessarily, but not, what's the word I'm looking for?
Criminal.
Not criminal, thank you. So this just specifically deals with IM 26, correct? And then we would have to deal with Amendment A once the legal findings.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I want to assure people we didn't put this amendment to keep this, as Rob kind of alluded to, that people might think from moving forward. We just want to create some time, since the state hasn't moved forward too much on it. It gives, and we haven't been able to, so it's going to give us a little more time, like say, so we can sit down and come up with something that works for our community.
Councilman Ronayne?
I haven't heard a groundswell of support for my comment, but I would nonetheless move to amend Number 2, sunset provision to read as follows. Unless sooner amended or repealed, this ordinance shall be automatically repealed on January 1, 2022.
Second.
So we've got an amendment proposed by Councilman Ronayne, seconded by Councilman Rux, that would adjust the amended language as stated, essentially repealing this automatically on January 1st of next year. Any questions or thoughts or statements on that? Josh?
I'm fine with the amendment. My question is, we can always extend if we need to, correct?
Right.
But I guess to me, it's a bit of a horse apiece because we could always just repeal this one sooner, right? So I guess I'm fine either way. To me, it's not a big deal, unless other people have any other.
I like the amendment just to not prolong it longer than we could if we wanted to, if that makes any sense.
And like I say, for me, I think the reason I'm going to support this is if they have to have theirs out by October 29th, hopefully we have some of those meetings ahead of time so we can kind of see what we as a council want. So an ordinance could be brought to us middle of November and could actually be passed before the end of the year. And if not, we just extend it out another 3 months or whatever it takes and go from there.
And I think perception-wise, it looks good as well. I've gone on the record. The people voted. I strongly support doing whatever we need to do to move what they voted for forward. But I think it's good that we're doing what we need to do to deal with what the state is doing.
So Brett, is there likely to be a parallel for recreational marijuana dispensaries as well that'll come down the pipe?
Well, I don't know if that's one I want to answer. I don't know.
So we've got a motion and a second on an amendment. We've had a few council members weigh in their support. If no one else has anything to add, Carl, would you give us a roll call vote on that amendment itself?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion does carry. That amendment will take shape in the ordinance in which we're about to vote. Does anyone else have anything on the ordinance itself? We've got a motion and second. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote on the ordinance 210502?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the application for community event permit, the Fallout Creative Communities Art and Music Festival, which will take place on June 6th at the 200 block of South Main Street. This would be for approval of that event. No one is here to speak on that. I don't think anyone from the city has anything to say, so I will take a motion to approve that application.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion, Councilman Reinbold, second, Councilman Ronayne. Anything to add from our council? Otherwise, Carl, give us a roll call vote, please. Actually, is that an aye or an A thing?
That could be a voice vote.
Okay, let's just do that. Save the time and energy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. Next, we've got the recommendation on bids for refuse collection unit for Public Works Department. This would be approval to award the bid to Sanitation Products for the refuse packer body in the amount of $62,000, to award the bid to the Truck Center Company for a cab chassis unit in the amount of $81,634, less the trade-in allowance on our 2014 Freightliner for the amount of $47,500. That totals out to $34,134, and to declare that 2014 Freightliner surplus for that trade-in transaction. So Robin, tell us about that.
This is an annual thing. We did hold this bid back for a while to make sure that budgets were in order. We didn't know the effects of COVID. So we actually didn't originally have this in the budget, if I recall right. Bottom line is, we do try to replace one of these a year. They get to be in a little tough shape normally, and we want to make sure that we keep our fleet in decent shape. The older ones are only used, a dozen or so times a year, and by the time they hit that point in their life, they probably shouldn't be used much more than that. But we did get an excellent trade this year at the 47.5. I don't recall ever seeing a trade-in value that high before, so this is an excellent bid. Net combination is just over $96,000, and we're budgeted well above that. So we recommend the two as the mayor read.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Rux. Does anyone have any questions for Robin? All right, Carl, would you give us a roll call vote for those payments, please?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thank you, Robin. Appreciate it. Next, we've got several Parks and Rec Board, either appointments, reappointments, or replacing unexpired terms, as we recently learned. We've got, I'll do them together. We've got Elizabeth Schwab, we've got Jake Crammond, and we've got Dave Sandvig, who's already on the board, as most of you guys know. I'll take a motion to confirm those appointments, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Reif, second from Councilman Lunsman. Has anyone got anything? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. Lastly, we've got our review and approval of the claims and payroll. The bills would be for the list of May 24th, and the payroll, as well as the city share of Social Security, old age, survivors insurance, retirement health, and life insurance from the period of May 9th through the 22nd. Can I get a motion to make all those payments?
Move to approve.
Is that your second, John?
I'll be a second.
Okay. We've got a motion from Councilman Lunsman, second from Councilman Johnson. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote on those payments, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye, although I abstain on two payments to Plains Commerce Bank.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye, but I will abstain on a payroll item, possible payroll item for Mitchell Rux, if he is on there.
Mayor Shoneman.
We don't see payroll, so I can't tell.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the city manager's report, and here to fill us in on that is Joe Gott. What have you got, Joe?
Just kind of a little reminder to the public of the time of the year we're in. Schools are out or getting out of session, so we'll see a lot of kids in neighborhoods. I know in my neighborhood, you see bikes on sidewalks and strollers and basketballs bouncing down the street more than you did just not too long ago. So just a reminder for some of that neighborhood safety, because with that, we've also been getting several calls of folks somewhat concerned about speed in residential neighborhoods. So just kind of a little reminder. And then another little thing that's starting to go on is the Public Works crew is working on multiple projects. Some of them are big street replacement projects. Some of them are smaller. Just keep in mind when they're going on around your residents to give them some space to work, and they'll be able to get in quicker and do that. If you see cones in your neighborhood, try to avoid those areas as much as you can, and that'll allow them to go forth. But all of those things, just some changing sites in our neighborhood, I just wanted to remind everybody to be cognizant of.
Thank you very much. Joe, anything else from the council before we motion to adjourn? Councilman Renee.
Actually, I think I'd direct this to Joe. If this council is fully vaccinated, if our staff is vaccinated, is there any reason we can't get back to, sitting shoulder to shoulder?
That was something we were going to bring up. I think there was one council member still awaiting vaccination, and I need to check and see if that's occurred. We had talked about how comfortable are you. I think there was one time there were 15 folks up there. Are you comfortable with all 15, or do some of us go back up there and then others fill this? This has kind of worked. So that's something to think about. We're pretty close to being there. We wanted to have a little bit of discussion, but maybe think about that and give me some feedback individually or as a group if we want to talk about that.
Sounds good. Good suggestion. Anything else before?
One more. And is next week's meeting the first of is it the 5th of the month, or is it the first of the month?
This will be the 5th. It will be the 31st, and it's a holiday, so there's no meeting for a lot of reasons. So the next meeting is June 7th. I think is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Rux to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.